Let's extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Thembisa Fakude, who's the director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, or AfriSAD. Mr. Fakude, it's always a great pleasure to have you with us on the show. So I watched an interview with the Minister Lamula yesterday, speaking to the SABC News, of course, detailing the purpose of this engagement. And he basically gave the notion that, of course, Team South Africa will be fully committed in re-engaging the conversations of the SA-USA trade relationships, from tariffs to AGOA, and the possible resetting of our relations, right? Are you hopeful there's still a chance to mend fences? Tariffs did basically nullify AGOA. Questions now, will it be revised?
No, I'm not hopeful. I don't think it's going to happen. I think the horse is bolted in terms of the United States confirming its position and continuing with its intention to isolate South Africa and further sanction some of the members of the governing ANC. So the discussions will continue. Minister Pakistan, with the Minister of Trade, Cooperation and International Trade Industrial Competition, has been in Washington and has been trying to push for some sort of a deal. We are yet to hear from him when he returns whether those negotiations were fruitful and what sort of results he will be giving us as a country, as we will await with bated breath. But I don't think that Minister Lamula's objectives of trying to resuscitate the relationship with the United States will yield any result. I think the United States will want to see us dropping the case at the ICJ. They will want to see us kissing and making up with Israel, and they will want to see us renegating on relationships that we've had with countries such as China, Russia, and Iran. So until those relationships are rescinded by South Africa, with its mission of trying to ties with South.
What a damper to some of these hopes there, Mr. Fakude. Well, of course, the UN says their focus on the theme specifically this year is focusing on peace, development, as well as human rights, which is why I suppose the South African delegation was hoping to utilize this and just throw in some of those conversations around our trade relations. But this at the back, of course, Thembisa, of the United States vetoing the UNSC Gaza ceasefire demand for the sixth time, while the United Nations had also confirmed genocidal acts in Gaza. And of course, that question of the Palestinian statehood is said to be taking center stage. So how do you foresee that the US then is going to get around this conundrum?
Well, first of all, the United Nations is no longer as effective as it used to be. Many people have referred to it as a toothless dog with a bark that's more bigger and dangerous than its bite. So its time is come and gone. The fact that we're going to have terrorists not even mentioning the word Israel during that long interview that he had tells you how United Nations has been disabled in terms of it really representing the will and the interest of the people internationally. He was comfortable to mention Hamas, but not once did he mention that the people actually causing this destruction in Gaza is Israel and Israeli forces. He will never say that. That's the first point. The second point is, I've said this before, the two-state solution is a way of diverting attention and keeping us busy with something that's a non-starter for many, many Palestinians. And I'm saying this because what state is Palestine? Where is the geographically? Where is the state Palestine going to be in the region as we speak? Because the Israeli government has annexed every single piece of land where the Palestinian state was initially designated to exist. So there's no Palestinian state post the 1967 border. Now you've got all of these red-roofed illegal settlements or illegal Jewish settlements and small little patches of land in between, which is supposed to be called Palestine. Just to make an example, imagine you're going to have Rodi Port is Palestine and then the rest of Renberg is Israel, then Soweto is Israel, and then in between you've got Alexander, that's called Palestine. Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, suggested that they could build bridges that will link up these townships that are now going to be called a state. So geographically, there's no state that's going to happen. That's the first point. The second point is you also have thousands of Palestinians who are lingering in refugee camps, whether it's in Jordan, Syria, Egypt, and in Lebanon, who are stateless and who cannot go back to their homes. And most of their homes are in what is known as Palestine 1948. Other people call it Israel. So where are they going to be going to? And what happens to those people? Inside the Gaza and the West Bank, there are refugee camps. Many people forget, by the way, that Gaza is a huge refugee camps of Palestinians that were kicked out of their homes, both in 1948 and in 1967. And most of them are looking at going back to their homes, which is now called Israel. Tel Aviv, for example, was called Jaffa. And most of those refugees from Jaffa, which later on became Tel Aviv, are in Gaza. So you have all of these complications. And people are talking about the two-state solution. There's no two-state solution. Inside Israel or Palestine 1948, you've got people who are stateless, the Bedouins, who don't have land because they've been kicked out of their land. So what two-state is everybody talking about? Why are we so excited? The Palestinians, I can tell you now for sure, there's no celebration about what Keir Starmer just announced. No, what's going to be announced lately or late today by both Australia and Canada, because they don't see a Palestinian state. What most Palestinians are looking at now, they're looking at a South African like solution of a one-state, democratic state with everybody living in it.
Thembisa Fakude, they're not shy to always pointing us towards the harsher realities. Mr. Fakude, is always great engagement there. We're going to leave it there with Mr. Thembisa Fakude, the director at Africa-Asia Dialogues, just engaging us ahead, of course, of President Ramaphosa's United Nations Security Council, General Council that will be meeting in New York this week.